The monarchs have descended. Jinwoo has stepped back from the world. And now, only one decision remains. Should Earth be protected forever? Or allowed to choose its own future? Welcome to the final chapter of this What If saga. This is part 3, The Consequence of Heaven. The world did not know Sung Jinwoo had stepped back. But it felt it. Disasters still happened. Gates still opened. People still died. Yet something subtle had changed. The sky no longer waited for permission. Jinwoo walked through a crowded street without anyone noticing him. That was intentional. His presence was muted now. Not suppressed by force, but by choice. Authority no longer reached outward instinctively. It waited, like a blade sheathed at his side. Hunters adapted. Not quickly, not easily, but they adapted. Guilds restructured. Response times improved. Rescue protocols evolved. Humanity began solving problems without waiting for a miracle. And that terrified the monarchs. Far beyond Earth, the monarchs gathered in rare unanimity. The rulers have lost their anchor, one said. Another corrected quietly. No, they've gained a variable. The eldest leaned forward. A variable that can still end us. If forced. Silence followed. Then the verdict. We will not force him. They smiled. We will corner him. The strategy changed. No grand disasters. No simultaneous crises. Just pressure. Small, relentless, human pressure. The first strike was political. Governments began arguing openly. Why did some regions stabilize faster than others? Why did certain disasters resolve just in time? Patterns were noticed. Rumors spread. He still chooses. He just pretends not to. Jinwoo listened to the broadcasts in silence. He did not intervene. That was the point. The second strike was social. Families of victims demanded answers. Why were their loved ones not saved when others were? Protests formed. Not violent. Just loud. Just personal. Jinwoo walked past one gathering where a man shouted, "You saved strangers and let my daughter die." The words struck. Jinwoo stopped. Almost turned back. Then kept walking. Hands shaking. The rulers appeared less frequently now. When they did, they watched more than they spoke. "You are bleeding influence," one noted. "Good," Jinwoo replied. "That's not what I meant," the ruler said quietly. The monarchs pressed closer. Not with armies. With invitations. A voice reached Jinwoo one night while he sat alone on a rooftop. Calm. Measured. Almost polite. "You've proven you don't want to be a god." Jinwoo didn't look up. "What do you want?" "Balance," the voice replied. Jinwoo smiled thinly. "Funny. That's what everyone says." The offer came carefully. No threats. No ultimatums. "Withdraw completely," the monarch proposed. "Leave Earth to humans. Leave the rulers to us." Jinwoo exhaled. "And the cost?" "A managed war," the voice said. "Limited. Contained. Predictable." Jinwoo stood. "You're asking me to abandon them." "No," the monarch corrected. "We're asking you to stop interfering." The words were almost reasonable. That made them dangerous. Jinwoo refused. Not loudly. Not angrily. Simply. "No." The voice faded. But the pressure increased. The judges began dying. Not disappearing. Dying. One by one. Ambushed. Overwhelmed. Outmatched. Jinwoo felt each death like a dull thud in his chest. He did not respond immediately. He waited. Watched. Learned. The monarchs had adapted again. They weren't countering authority anymore. They were outlasting it. Wearing down every human solution. Turning hope into exhaustion. Jinwoo met the rulers at the edge of the higher plane. "They're waiting me out," he said. "Yes," one replied. "They believe you will either break or leave." Jinwoo looked down at Earth. At cities glowing weakly against the night. "What if I do neither?" The rulers exchanged glances. "There is one path." Jinwoo turned. "A path we hoped you would never consider." They showed him the consequence. Not a vision of the future, but a law. If Jinwoo fully anchored himself again, not as judge, not as emissary, but as boundary, the war would end, decisively. No monarch could cross. No ruler could interfere. Earth would be sealed, protected, isolated, forever. Jinwoo felt his breath catch. "You're asking me to lock the world away?" "Yes. And what happens to me?" The ruler hesitated. You would become the boundary. Not ruler. Not guardian. A wall. Aware. Present. Alone. Jinwoo laughed quietly. So this is the price of peace. No one contradicted him. He returned to Earth. Walked familiar streets. Visited old places. The hospital. The park. The quiet alley where he used to rest after raids. He watched people argue, laugh, struggle. Humanity. Imperfect, loud, fragile. Alive. He stood at the edge of a hill at dawn. The sky pale. The city waking. Jinwoo whispered to the wind. I never wanted to be above you. The wind didn't answer. But the world listened. The monarchs sensed the shift immediately. Panic rippled through their ranks. He's choosing something worse. Yes. He's choosing finality. The eldest snarled. Then we stop him now. The sky darkened. Not violently. Decisively. This time, there would be no delay. No traps. No psychological games. The monarchs descended together. Not fragments. Not partials. The war had arrived. Jinwoo stood alone beneath the breaking heavens. No halo. No spectacle. Just a man who had made a decision. He looked up. All right, he said softly. Let's finish this. The sky did not tear. It lowered, as if the heavens themselves had decided to press down upon the world. Clouds flattened into dark, unmoving layers. Light dimmed without disappearing. Gravity felt heavier, deliberate, controlled. Across the globe, people stopped. Not because of fear, but because something inside them whispered that a line was about to be crossed. Jinwoo felt the monarchs before he saw them. Their presence was no longer chaotic. No longer raging. It was unified, purposeful, terrifyingly calm. They descended not as conquerors, but as executioners. The first monarch emerged above the clouds, wings folded like a judge's cloak. The second followed, wrapped in burning crimson scales. The third arrived as a distortion, no body, only will. Then more. 7. Not all monarchs. Enough. Enough to force an ending. The rulers appeared behind Jinwoo, their forms tense. This is beyond containment, one said. Jinwoo did not turn. I know. If you anchor now, another warned. There will be no reversal. Jinwoo nodded once. I know. The monarchs spoke in unison. Not loudly. Not angrily. You have delayed the inevitable, they said. You have weakened the rulers' grasp. You have fractured humanity's dependence. A pause. But you remain the fulcrum. Jinwoo looked up at them. Then move, he replied. They did. The first strike was not physical. It was existential pressure. The sky folded inward as if reality itself were being squeezed. Buildings groaned. Mountains cracked. Oceans churned violently. Jinwoo stepped forward. Authority stirred. But he did not release it. Not yet. Instead, he opened himself. Fully. To the world. Every city. Every human fear. Every fragile hope. The noise nearly crushed him. But he held on. The second monarch attacked with annihilation. A beam of destructive will tore through the atmosphere, aimed not at Jinwoo, but at the planet beneath him. Jinwoo raised his hand, not in denial, in placement. The beam stopped, suspended, not erased, held. Jinwoo's arm shook violently. Blood ran freely from his nose, ears, mouth. The rulers shouted, "You cannot hold that." Jinwoo whispered back, "I'm not." He redirected it, not upward, not outward, into nothing. A conceptual void formed, not destruction, exclusion. The beam vanished. The monarch recoiled in disbelief. That space does not allow consequence, Jinwoo finished. The monarchs attacked together. Space collapsed. Time jittered. Reality fractured into competing outcomes. Jinwoo stood at the center. And chose one rule. Earth remains, he said. The rule anchored. Every other outcome lost priority. The planet stabilized. The cost slammed into him instantly. His knees buckled. Bones shattered. Muscles tore. He screamed. Not in pain, but in effort. The eldest monarch stepped forward. So this is your answer, it said calmly. You will become the lock. Jinwoo looked up through blood-blurred vision. Yes. And what of yourself? Jinwoo smiled faintly. That was never the point. The monarch raised its hand. Not to attack Jinwoo, but to override him. A direct attempt to erase his identity. Jinwoo felt his name begin to dissolve. His memories blurred. Faces faded. He clung desperately. Not to authority, but to meaning. He remembered being weak. Being afraid. Standing back up anyway. He remembered choosing to fight, not because he was strong, but because someone had to. He screamed one word. Not a command. A declaration. Enough. Authority exploded outward. Not violently. Absolutely. The sky froze. The monarchs halted mid-motion. The rulers gasped. This was not judgment. This was finality. Jinwoo began to change. Not glowing. Not transforming. Settling. His presence spread thin. Across borders. Across oceans. Across the edge of space itself. He was no longer in front of Earth. He was around it. The monarchs felt it instantly. A boundary forming. Not a wall. A condition. The eldest monarch snarled. You would cage the world. Jinwoo's voice came from everywhere. And nowhere. I would give it time. The monarchs struck him one last time. Everything they had. Power that had destroyed civilizations. Will that had broken worlds. It hit the boundary. And dispersed. Harmlessly. Inevitably. Silence followed. The monarchs stared. For the first time, fear crept into their voices. This cannot be broken. Jinwoo did not answer. He was already drifting. Not away, but outward. The rulers fell to one knee. They understood now. What he had chosen. What he had become. Jinwoo's final human sensation was exhaustion. Not divine. Not cosmic. Human. Then, distance. The boundary sealed completely. Earth glowed faintly. Wrapped in a thin, invisible layer of law. The monarchs recoiled, furious, powerless. They retreated. The war was over. Not won. Ended. Far below, humanity felt it. Not as salvation. As quiet. Gates stopped opening. Mana stabilized. The world breathed. And Sung Jinwoo, no longer standing, no longer walking, became the space where invasion ended. The world did not notice the moment Sung Jinwoo disappeared. There was no flash of light. No shockwave. No voice from the sky. Just morning. People woke up and went to work. Children argued on the way to school. Hospitals ran short-staffed. Hunters complained about paperwork. Life continued. And that was the miracle. The first sign came weeks later. A gate failed to form. Not delayed. Not weakened. It simply didn't appear. Sensors recorded nothing. Mana spikes vanished mid-curve. At first, people blamed faulty equipment. Then it happened again. And again. Across continents. Hunters noticed something else too. Mana felt calm. Not weaker. Stable. As if the world had finally exhaled after holding its breath for decades. Monsters still existed. Remnants, echoes, stragglers. But no new incursions followed. The age of endless escalation quietly ended. The rulers watched from beyond. They did not intervene. They could not. The boundary was absolute. Earth was sealed, not from existence, but from intrusion. No monarch could cross. No ruler could descend, not without unmaking the universe itself. They called it the quiet law. A condition, not an entity. A rule that did not judge. Only refused. Jinwoo was not gone, but he was no longer someone. He did not perceive time. He did not think in words. He existed as a margin. A line the universe respected. Yet fragments remained. Small ones. Human ones. Sometimes, when the city lights dimmed at night, a breeze would move through the streets unnaturally gently. People would pause without knowing why. A warmth would pass, then vanish. Jinwoo's mother felt it often. She would stop while washing dishes, look toward the window, and whisper, "Eat properly." She didn't know who she was speaking to. But the words felt necessary. His sister dreamed of him once. Not as a god, not as light, just Jinwoo. Tired, smiling faintly, leaning against a wall. When she woke up, she cried. And didn't know why. Years passed. Humanity changed. Without gods above them, people argued more. But they also learned. They prepared. They adapted. Fear did not vanish, but it no longer defined the future. Children grew up never knowing what a monarch was. History books spoke of an era of invasion, of hunters, of chaos, and of something unnamed that ended it. Some scholars argued it was a natural stabilization. Others believed in a forgotten guardian. A myth. A sacrifice. No one was entirely right. Far beyond Earth, the monarchs watched. They did not attack. They could not. They learned something bitter. Not all victories are battles. Some are decisions. The eldest monarch spoke once, quietly. He chose consequence over control. No one replied. The rulers convened rarely now. Their war was over. Not because they won, but because someone had refused to play. In the endless quiet where Jinwoo existed, a final fragment of self stirred. A memory. A question. Was it worth it? The boundary did not answer. But the world did. A child was pulled from rubble by a stranger. A doctor stayed awake too long to save one more life. A hunter retired to teach instead of fight. Humanity moved forward. Uneven, imperfect, alive. And somewhere beyond thought, beyond time, Sung Jinwoo felt something close to peace. Not happiness. Not pride. Peace. If anyone could have heard him, if sound still mattered, he might have said, "I never wanted to be a god." A pause. "I just didn't want anyone else to carry it alone." The universe held. The boundary remained. And Earth continued. Not protected by heaven, but trusted with itself. Jinwoo never wanted to be a god. He chose consequence over control. And in doing so, he gave humanity its future. Thank you for listening to this story on Anime What If Saga. If you enjoyed this journey, support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. A new What If Saga will begin soon.